Hi guys, it's Kyde Explains It time, and today is actually Valentine's Day, and it's Saturday, and Eric's working. So, I'm hanging out on Valentine's Day by myself, and I actually kind of just decided we'll do the Kyde Explains It about Valentine's Day, because Eric came home last night and he was like, my teacher at school yesterday, he goes to Japanese classes, and his teacher sat there telling everybody that Valentine's Day is a Christian holiday. And Eric and I were like, it's not a Christian holiday. And then Eric was like, but it's Saint Valentine's. So I thought, you know, why not give a little study about it, find out about it. So I did. And it turns out that it did all start as a worship celebration, and it is of Christian background. It really feels so pulled away from any religious experience for me at this point, in this age of whatever, and so it feels really weird to say that it has anything to do with religion, but it basically started because they wanted to celebrate these martyrs. And it's celebrated by, I wrote it down, Anglican Communion, the Lutheran churches, Lutheran Christians, and the Eastern Orthodox religions. Okay, these are the three that kind of still celebrate it as a religious holiday. I'm sure there's more, but these are the main ones that I saw. And the Eastern Orthodox actually does a really strange thing. They don't celebrate it on February 14th, which I will consider to be the commercial date. They celebrate it on July 7th for one of the martyrs, and July 30th for the other martyr. July 30th, they celebrate it for Valentine of Terni. I have no idea who, what, why, if it matters. They don't know anything about this guy other than that he was a Valentine and that he was a martyr of some sort. And actually, the Roman Church took Valentine's Day off of their calendar because they didn't know anything about these guys. It's still celebrated on certain calendars of the Roman Catholic Roman Catholic calendar, but they took it off because they don't know anything about these people. And as I was reading, nobody knows anything about these people. The other guy that's celebrated on the 7th of July is Saint Valentine, or not Valentine, it's not Saint Valentine, he's just Valentine of Rome. And again, they know nothing about him, but like his story that has evolved over time is that he was a practicing priest, and he would marry soldiers and help Christians in Roman times. And the Romans imprisoned him for doing these things because they didn't like Christians. So him helping Christians and marrying soldiers, he wasn't supposed to be doing these things, so they imprisoned him, and he was sentenced to death. Before he died, two things that he did was, one, he gave sight back to the blind girl, like the daughter of the jailer who kept him imprisoned. His daughter was blind and he gave sight to this girl, so like, yeah. And he also wrote the same girl a letter right before he died and signed it "Your Valentine," and all of this is quite embellished. And but people want a story to go along with what they feel or what they're doing, and it really goes along with it. Like, we write "Your Valentine" on things, and we give people sight that are blind. I don't know. So that is the origins of Valentine's Day. When was this? This was like medieval times? Something like that. I'm not exactly sure when all of this started, like when they started actually doing religious stuff. But I do know that the 1400s, or not the 1400s, the 14th century, which would be the 1300s. If I'm wrong about that, I'm going to feel really stupid. During the 14th century is when Valentine's became a love holiday. when it changed from being a holiday that you celebrate some man that was in prison to where you actually think about love. And if you're one of those guys out there that lives outside of Japan, or you're one of the girls that lives in Japan, and I'll explain later why I made that distinction, and you hate Valentine's Day and the fact that you gotta give people stuff or do stuff for people, well, one, you're with the wrong person if you don't want to do that stuff. Two, you should probably hate Chaucer, because Chaucer was the first person to emotionalize Valentine. The word emotionalize, I don't even know if that's a word, but he wrote a poem called The Parliament of the Fowl, and in it he explained that the birds come to this one place to find their Valentine, their mate. And this is where the romantic idea of Valentine's came. So, if you're upset about the standards and the protocol of Valentine's Day, you should dig up Chaucer and smack him across the face. He won't have a face anymore. You'll have to smack him across the skull. Oh, speaking of skulls, it actually turns out that the Valentine that I was talking about, the Valentine of Rome, he's a real person. He did get imprisoned, but we don't really know if all that other stuff happened. He was put to death, and you can go and see his skull if you want. He's got like a nice little flower crown on it. Somewhere in Rome, they've kept his skull. So if you're feeling particularly like love-driven, you might want to go and just, you know, rub it or something. Okay, anyways, that's too much skulls for, this is not Halloween, this is Valentine's Day. So the Parliament of the Fowl was written, and love started being associated with Valentine's Day. Now, Valentine's Day is not associated with love in all places. One of the places that it's not associated with love is Slovenia. Slovenia still celebrates it as a spring holiday, as things we're going towards spring. It's considered to be like the first day that things are going to put roots into the ground, and it's the first day that people go out into the fields to start working, or into the vineyard and they start to work. And another thing which goes along with Chaucer's birds getting married and stuff, Slovenia, they also feel that this is the day that all the birds get married. I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna find a bird, and if he's not getting married, I'm gonna be so pissed. It's gonna be one of those giant black birds. They don't get married. They're just there for terrifying people. So scary. Japan's got scary birds. Okay, so Chaucer wrote his lovely poem, and in the 18th century in England, you could also start hating Brits if you are upset about the protocol of what happens with Valentine's Day. The act of giving things to people and writing letters to people in regards to Valentine's Day started and flourished from England, and that was in the 18th century. In 1847, a lovely lady, I don't really know if she's lovely, I didn't even see any pictures of her, but this lady, Esther Howland? Yeah, Esther Howland was the one who brought Valentines, like the actual little cards, over to America. And she saw what they were doing in England because she got a card from a friend or a work colleague or something. She got a card from England, and she decided, all right, I work at a business that does cards and does books. I can do this. So she's basically the mother of Valentine's Day in the UK. So if you'd like to dig up another person and smack them, that's a good one. I don't know where she's buried though. Not that I knew where Chaucer was buried either, but I did know where the skull of Saint Valentine was. Yeah, so she brought Valentines, the actual cards, to America, and from that point, 1847, to today, the estimated amount of Valentine's Day cards that will be sent, and this does not include like what your kids are making in school or anything like that, this is like what people will buy, is 190 million cards. So from that one lady, 190 million cards are going to go out, or have already gone out this year. That's ridiculous. I didn't send any, but I also live in Japan, so it really wouldn't count towards this American totals. That's just America, I think. They didn't tell me where it was, so it could be the world. I don't know. I like to think it's just America. So that brings us to today, and you all know what's going on with Valentine's Day. It's going out on dates, it's buying the right teddy bear, or teddy, whatever your lady is into. For America, I'm talking about what men do for Valentine's Day. Dates, movies, candy. And it's not just that men do it, it's friends do it and everybody does it, but it's mainly focused on men doing things for their significant other, I feel, in America. Japan is very, very, very different. And that's another thing that I wanted to explain was Valentine's Day in Japan. Valentine's Day didn't take off until the 1950s here, when chocolate companies started realizing that chocolate companies in Western countries were making a big buck during Valentine's Day. So they started promoting it, and it really took off. I read... I read that the chocolate companies here in Japan, I believe this was a statistic or fact about only Japan, that the chocolate companies make 1/2 of their annual profit during the Valentine's Day season. That's insane. I mean, it's definitely true. Like, I didn't get any, I got one chocolate at work. One chocolate for Valentine's Day, and I'm pretty sure that paid for everything for that chocolate company. But Eric got some, and we're not even giving things to each other. You know, I didn't give anything to him, he didn't give anything to me. We're just getting stuff from random people. I mean, he is a teacher, so it's bound to happen, but I work with words. None of the words gave me any candy. My boss did. She's a female, by the way. So that leads me into the fact that in Japan, Valentine's Day is considered to be the day that women give stuff to men. And that really was strange to me when I started living here, but now it's just completely normal. So the women give things to men on Valentine's Day, and there are 3 kind of categories that candy can go in for Valentine's Day for Japan. There's giri choco, and giri means obligation. So this chocolate would be just your run-of-the-mill chocolate, doesn't really matter what it is, and it's probably, my boss is really cool, so I don't think she would have given us giri choco. But what I got, or what I would have gotten from any coworker, probably would have been giri choco. I'm not their super friend or anything like that, it's just, you sit on the other side of the office, here you go. So that's giri choco. Like, if you go and you give something to a coworker or whatever, like, giri choco. It's just because you exist. There's honmei choco, which is for friends and lovers and important people. It's like giving the best that you have to whoever it is. And I'd honestly say that that would be for, like, teachers. Like, last year, I didn't get any giri choco from my kids. I got honmei choco from my kids. Like, they wanted to give me the best that they had. And most of the thing, like, in Japan, they like to make their own chocolate, or like they get the chocolate and they make things out of it. Like, they melt it and make really cool things. So that's why I think it's honmei choco instead of giri choco. And then there's also tomo choco, which is for, like, friend-to-friend things. You could consider that what I got from my kids last year was friend to friend, but I'm their teacher, so I kind of feel like it's still honmei choco. I'm actually going out tonight to meet a friend, and I'm going to take some tomo choco with me and give it to her. So that's kind of cool. I actually didn't know about tomo choco till I read about this, so now I know what I'm giving her, and I'll tell her. So I think that's really cool. The next time that you give out a Valentine snack, gift, chocolate, think about whether it's giri, honmei, or tomo, and it's kind of cool. It's not just a Valentine, it's a specific kind of Valentine. And so the women are all given this stuff. What are we, slaves? What? No. There's actually a reply day that happens here in Japan, and it happens in many other countries. I believe China Taiwan, and many other Asian countries. March 14th, it's exactly one month after Valentine's Day. March 14th is White Day. And on White Day, you are expected, if your relationship with the person is good and you want that relationship to continue, you are supposed to give 2 to 3 times more back to the person that gave you something on Valentine's Day. That shows that you are excited about your relationship. You want your relationship to get better and continue going. If you give the same amount of stuff back, it's almost saying like this relationship is over. I've never given anybody anything more back, so I think I've just ended all relationships. Like, they give me a chocolate, I give them, it's like an eye for an eye when it comes to me on Valentine's Day, and I'm pretty sure I've ended some relationships. Sorry. Also, it turns out that if you give nothing, which I've totally done, but I don't really hang out with people who look too hard into this. If you give nothing back, it shows that you have superiority over the person who gave you something on Valentine's Day. So make sure that your response on White Day is correct. If it's not, you might look like an asshole, or your friendship might end, or something like that. And so today's Valentine's Day, and I didn't really get any Valentines. So I'm kind of happy I don't have to worry about White Day, but I always end up forgetting about White Day anyways. So yeah, it's probably best that I won't be unintentionally ending friendships. But that's Valentine's Day from long ago to now to Japan. Yeah, I hope that you enjoyed Valentine's Day. And also, this is beautiful. I thought that I should put something on the screen that was appropriate, and maybe Doge will be my Valentine this year. He's so handsome, and all the ladies are already kissing him. Beautiful. Alright, well, that's the Kyde Explains It. See ya!